Leslie Lau, founder of Finding Space, one of the co-hosts, and as with me as always, Shaun Cooper, the other co-host.
How you going? Nice to be here.
Shaun is the founder of Subito Supplements, as well as Mixing It Up.
Yup.
So this is the first podcast of hopefully a long series starting this year, but something that Shaun and I have been thinking about for quite a long time, I think.
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
Yeah, and I guess for the first episode we'll sort of talk about how it came to be, and really it's just this thing where Shaun and I caught up, at least once a week, have coffee, have lunch, have dinner, whatever, and we just talk, just riff on anything and everything, riff on life, and we'd talk for an hour, 2, 3, and afterwards we'd always look at each other and say, fuck, we should have recorded that.
Yeah, man.
Some good content for people. And I think it's interesting because we come from very different places in terms of our opinions, hence hustle and flow.
Yeah, man. I think, as you said, we've got some differing opinions on a lot of things, and the way we approach things is quite different in a lot of areas of life. Hustle and flow being, I tend to want to put things into existence fast. I really believe that effort is the way to do it. I'm a big believer in that. And I know that you're no stranger to effort and putting in your own type of hustle. I think just the approach is a bit different. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know that you're a big believer in flow. And that's really how I think this podcast idea came to us. I can't even pinpoint exactly when it came to us, but probably just during one of the discussions, you're like, hey man, we're talking, like, you've got this opinion, I've got this opinion. It's interesting that we both plenty of times come to the same conclusion though.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's important. I mean, I'm sure many people, you guys have listened to in podcasts, they have similar conversations, and everyone will have differing opinions, and that's just natural. I think that's, the nature of being human beings, brought up very differently. We're all going to have differing opinions that are, influenced by different experiences in our lives. But I think the point of the Hustle and Flow podcast is just to really point that polarity out, and then just see those, those riffings of polarity just in the end just come together and come to a general consensus. It may not be a complete agreement of one way or another, but it is an acknowledgement of difference, but also not a falsification of another's.
Not just agreeing because you like the person, or because you want the conversation or argument, if you're ever having one, to end.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And it just comes from a really honest place of, being, if you're open and transparent in the way you converse with whoever you talk to, no matter what it is about, whether it's something deep and profound or something very, superficial, there's always going to be a nuance of opinion. And it's cool. I think it's really good to acknowledge that and just be able to have a proper conversation and share opinion and not try and win an argument per se.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a key point, right? So yeah, that's really the crux of the Hustle and Flow podcast. Shaun has sort of alluded to it. Obviously, I'm the more of the flow aspect of things, and Shaun is the hustle. Maybe we should give everyone a bit of a summary or overview of a bit about ourselves and our history.
Yeah, sure, man.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, in terms of career is generally the place that people start when they talk about themselves, where they've come from. We're both in our 30s now. We've known each other for a long time, and we met each other when I think we were I was 19. You're a bit older than me.
Like 2021?
Yeah, 2021. So we met each other after I started going out with my partner, Christina, and we just became friends, got closer, ended up living together for a while, which was cool and fun. And then we don't live together anymore. Les is now married, happily. I'm still with Christina after 13 years, which I love. And we did lose contact along the way as well, man.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah.
And during that time, you went through some really interesting experiences, which I'm sure we'll cover in some podcasts going forward.
Absolutely.
And which have uncovered a lot for you. And when we reconnected, I recall it was actually you telling me about that experience. And man, it's funny how things happen for us in our lives. You know that I'm a big believer that life happens for us and not to us. And I know you definitely attest to that given your experiences. And when we reconnected, kind of what was cool about the confronting times that you had in those experiences also made me reflect on my own life. And now that I just talk about it out loud, I think maybe that's where we might have began talking about things deeper than how shredded we were going to get, which is the sort of shit we would talk about before. Yeah, man. And so we met when we were 19 to come back to where we're from, or when I was 19, about 2021. I was working for a coffee company. I was in sales and marketing. I started at the bottom there, worked my way through into a management role, doing a whole variety of different functions. Sales and marketing is generally what I was doing. And I worked there for about 8 years. And during that time, it was a very full-on job. And I also wanted to build something for myself. Obviously, I was working for someone else at that time. And I started a supplement company with a guy that was a friend of mine at the time. And it was just sort of my side hustle. And during that time, I kind of just really wanted to learn how to, I guess, move forward with my own life, get ahead the way I thought I wanted to get ahead at that point in time. And I thought that, learning how to start, run, execute a business was a good way to do that. It always had interest for me. Yeah. I've always been interested in business. Yeah. I remember in high school, I did business studies, and there was the teacher there. She asked, who here thinks they want to start their own business? And with no hesitation, I put my own hand up. It was just something that I always wanted to do. So I started that business on the side, and you'd remember, Les, was running it out of the garage of where our apartment was.
Yeah.
And it sounds really cliche because everyone seems to have a garage story these days, but literally it was out of a garage. So from that, I was working full-time for that coffee company, part-time on the business, which really, now that I look back, was, I call it play business that time that I was doing it while working, because I don't think I was giving it any amount of the effort that I think I should have.
No, totally.
And you learn that too, right? What effort really is.
I mean, that's totally would have been part of your learning process, just to reflect back and see, how much effort you were putting in versus how much you are now.
Totally.
What you need.
Totally. And even recently, as of last week, I was talking to Christina about it. I was what I think effort is now, even to what it was a couple months ago, which was what, I thought that I was putting in a lot of effort last year. But I think there was this little part of me that always knew there was a lot more in the tank. And then prior to that, I thought I was putting a lot of effort in, and I'd had that, I guess if you want to call it upgrade in my mentality of what effort was. And going from working full time, I ended up leaving that job and deciding to go into the supplement business full time. And I've been doing that now for 5 years. And over that time, my progression of what I think effort is, what actual hustle is, has definitely changed. But the one thing that hasn't changed for me has been that I truly believe that it's in the doing. And that if you really want to make something of yourself, there's hustle involved.
Yeah, totally.
How you hustle is up to you.
Yeah.
But there's definitely hustle involved, and I've realized that what I really enjoy in my life, whether it be work-wise or learning how to do something, getting a good deal on something. Like, it's about the hustle for me, man. I just love that shit. And
yeah, I know you do, man.
Yeah, man. And I guess that's a really roundabout way of where I've come from. It's a bit broad. I'm sure we'll get into more details as the episode's gone about where I'm from. But yeah, man, I've just kind of evolved from working for someone to working for myself to running a couple of businesses now. One of them with another person, which is really cool. I run that with my cousin, which I really enjoy, and that's very recent for us. But the supplement thing I've been doing for a while, had other businesses along the way. Some haven't worked, some have worked, some have sold. So it's been good. Definitely nowhere near where I want to be, and working very, I guess, got a big focus on trying to learn more about how to succeed the way I want to succeed.
Yeah.
But the hustle is a big part of that for me.
Yeah.
I always tend to come back to that. When shit's not going my way, I'm like, what do I need to hustle on? And I think that's kind of my North Star.
And I think it's important to note, that's a very, I guess, surface level clip of where you've come from and a bit of your story, but how you've sort of evolved, throughout the years, like you said, I heard a little bit of a snippet about it in terms of what your views of success was back then to what it is now, and how to approach it to what it is now.
Yeah.
Your approach is very different as well. The hustle and flow stereotypes. That's exactly what they are. They're just stereotypes, and we're not hard and fast on either side of this. Of this
spectrum, totally.
But that's the persona, quote unquote, that you're playing as a hustle, and it is a big part of what you are. But you acknowledge and you do the flow work as well.
And very much.
Why
yeah.
Sort of mix between those sort of two polarities, which is cool.
And I guess also for me, man, through our conversations and the relationship that we have, and seeing the work that you do yourself, I really see the value and the benefit of acknowledging flow and being in a flow state, and just everything that flow states are talked about a lot, but just flow period, having a flow in your life is so important. And I guess you just touched on it earlier, we're not hard and fast on either side of the coin.
Yeah.
I'm very much into the hustle, but flow is very important to me too, and I do things to try and I guess moderate the flow of my life. I think that's important, and I know that you do the same.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's so important. I think that message will continue to sort of pop up, throughout our podcasting, that it isn't just anything about, being dogmatic or extreme about one thing or another.
Yeah, totally, man.
But yeah, awesome.
And how about where you tell us a bit about yourself, man?
Yeah, so, the start of my story, really, like I said, when we first met, it was very generic. It was, a very straight and narrow type existence for me. I've always, even as a kid when I was growing up, I never truly felt like I had my own identity, so I would always adopt that of others. And it's a very generic one that everyone knows so well, especially being of Chinese background. My parents are right on my ass about, studying and doing well in schooling to get a good job and all that sort of shit.
That ethnic life.
Yeah, totally, man. So that's sort of where my perception of what life and success was sort of built on. That was the foundation, and that is, I'm sure, similar for many people out there. So, I've always struggled in school. I never did too well. I knew I could do it, but then I just didn't want to, right? And then the same thing with university, and then the same thing with all the jobs I've had. So I recently just finished up 12-year stint at one of the big 4 banks in Australia. And the same thing as you, I did really well. I started from the bottom, got into project management, and I did delve within the project world for most of my tenure there. And I had hit all my sort of milestones and goalposts in terms of success and, making X amount of money, all that sort of stuff. I hit all those, and I was winding back at the same spot. And who knows why? Just because it wasn't for me, right? And I was always trying to fit into that box. But the event that you alluded to, Shaun, was in 2013. All of a sudden, I was diagnosed with cancer, and that was one of the things that was a catalyst for for me being here and talking to you and talking about this stuff right now. It was the greatest blessing. Looking back in hindsight, because without it, I wouldn't have been courageous enough to even do half of the shit that I've done between then and now. So that was a big thing for me. So that sort of thrust me immediately into 7 months of treatment, which I came out the other end, and was just like, fuck, what do I do now? Like, it was the absolute wake-up call that I needed, like with capital T, right?
Yeah.
I would have had many others in the past, which I just simply swept under the rug, as we tend to do, because it's hard work, right? It's hard to face those demons.
We all hit snooze on that shit.
Yeah. So that sort of set me off, and I was sort of like, okay, I know definitely one thing is that corporate life isn't for me. So what do I do? And then I went down this path of reading shitloads of books and just trying other ventures out, going to conferences and seminars and things, just to figure shit out, just to find a way out, And I spent tens of thousands of dollars, and you know this, because you were part, you came with me for some of those, and I spent 18 months trying to stand up 2 businesses with a friend who again, it came to nothing, because it was just an attempt to get out, an attempt to set something up just for the sake of setting it up so we can have something outside of corporate. But it just didn't work because of the intention behind it. It wasn't pure. And again, those are the lessons that I took. It took those 18 months of trying to do shit on the side. It took those tens of thousands of dollars that I spent to point me to the right direction, and I sort of started just sitting and exploring myself a lot more. And ever since I had cancer, I started down the meditation route, like on and off, and it's always hard to start. But for 3 to 4 years now, I've been doing it quite religiously, and that sort of led me down understanding just a little bit more about who I am, what I want in life, and why there was such a misalignment. And it's that whole analogy of just trying to push a door, trying to get through this door, and you're just pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. But it was that moment when I stood back and just looked at the sign on the door and it says pull. It's like, oh fuck, I've been doing something wrong this whole fucking time. And it had been like, 30 odd years or whatever, almost that. But anyway, from there, I guess, I started working with a few people who really helped me with flow, using various methods, plant medicine and stuff like that. We can talk to vision questing and just real, societal stimulus deprivation, all that sort of stuff, and just really honing my space, and just writing heaps. I started blogging in 2016, and I've continued writing up until this point, and I've co-published a book now, which I guess we'll talk about in the future for sure. But yeah, that's what sort of manifested finding space, my little community, about exactly that, finding a little bit of space in our lives just to figure out what the fuck it is we're here to do.
Yeah, man. Do you want to tell people just quickly about what that is?
Yeah, totally. So just a little bit of background, I guess. On the back of like a little a stay which I lived in a Zen Buddhist monastery in Japan. I came home and sort of figured out that the environment around me was a bit of a metaphor for the space that we all need in our lives to sort of get a bit of clarity. The analogy I like to use is like, if you've got a cup of water and it's muddy, our lives are sort of just like perpetual motion, so we're continually stirring this cup of water. So it's just like a dirty cup of water and it's continually stirring and stirring and stirring. You can't see shit, it's just a blur of like mud and dirt.
Okay.
But if you stop stirring it, what eventually happens is all the dust settles down to the bottom of the cup.
Yeah, right.
And then you can see all the way right down, all the way through. And there's like clarity in the water, it's clear. And that's the analogy I like to use, whether it's like physical or mental or spiritual space, I created that or wanted to create that. Those are the sort of platforms and foundations that really gave me the clarity I needed to figure out shit for myself, what it is that I resonate with, the stuff that is fake, the stuff that has been conditioned through society, through my upbringing, all that sort of stuff. And just really unpack my life and figure out what direction I wanted to go in. So for me, because that stuff was so helpful, I created the community findingspace.co. It's an online community where people simply feel safe to express themselves authentically and just speak their minds and just reflect on themselves and just give themselves the space to, just be curious.
Yeah.
It's not really about answers per se. It's the more important thing is about questions that you ask.
Yeah. And I've been fortunate to be part of the community since we started it, and it is a really cool space, man. That just allows like actually authentic expression.
Yeah.
There's just a vibe to it, which is very different to other, I guess, communities and spaces that people have tried to create. And I think there's no, what I really like about it is like, well, for me anyway, there's no expectation about it.
Totally.
Like there's no expectation in it. I think you put a lot of effort into, the foundations of the community that you're building, in terms of like, I remember when go in, look at, you've got guidelines and they're like quite comprehensive. You take the time to, I know you put a lot of effort into how you wanted, or rather what you wanted to provide for people.
Yeah.
Not how you wanted, but what you wanted to provide. And there's like guidelines which we all follow in that community, which have, allowed us all to actually be able to express ourselves and not have any fears of judgment, which is really fucking cool, because like everybody's just judging everyone.
Yeah, totally.
And man, it's a space where like for me, whenever I feel like I want to put out my thoughts or my feelings, something like, it's a cool space I can do that. I really like that.
Yeah.
It's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And it does like, you've been writing for quite a while now. I write sporadically. I think I use my Instagram captions to write more than anything.
Yeah.
But like, it's cool, man. That you like, as you're saying, like unpack your thoughts.
Yeah, totally. And I think the thing is, right, like what I learned through my own writing and stuff and just exploring various modes of self-reflection is that it's just utilizing a different medium to articulate the same thing that you're trying to feel or you're thinking, because the way you think may be different to the way that you write, and the way that you write might prompt something else in the way that you think, and vice versa.
Totally, yeah.
That's the space. So outside of that, I guess, like I said, meditation has been a very important tool for myself. And I teach that as well as run workshops from findingspace.co. So there's the stuff that I say, again, one of those tools that assists us in finding space. And then, of course, guidance and mentorship, which again is something that I myself continue to have in my life. I have a real mentor, real quote unquote, as in a person who I speak to, then I have mentors in books and things like that.
Yeah.
So I offer that guidance again. That's a valuable resource that I found helpful in my life. So yeah.
Cool, man. And I guess more than anything, like being the opening episode, just to know why we want to do this is like, well, for me, I won't speak for you. You can speak for yourself. But like for me, this is a good. Talking to you has always been really enjoyable for me, and sort of helps me. Not sort of. It does help me to hash out my own thoughts, see things from another perspective. Something that's been very recent for me is actually just not giving a fuck about what other people think. I had my entire life until very recently, and I guess that penny dropped for me, and it's been awesome. But that for me is not so much about like putting my middle fingers up to the world and being like, fuck you, I do what I want. I think that's like a perception people have when people are like, I don't give a fuck, like, or don't care about what people think. It's like,
totally.
That's not what it's about to me.
Yeah.
It's about living your own truth.
Yeah.
Living according to your own values.
100%.
And, you know, doing your own work the way that you want to do that, not being influenced to operate in a way that other people want you to operate, or because you think you're being viewed in a certain way.
Yeah.
And our conversations have always helped me to do that, and to, you know, arouse thoughts, talk them through with someone that I trust. And I guess what's been cool is that, you know, things we've talked about I've then taken away and talked to other people about, and it's helped them.
Yeah.
And that's why I think if people choose to listen to this podcast, they're going to hear things and learn things that could help them, because we're just regular dudes, man, that are just have made a commitment to work on ourselves and
absolutely.
to try and leave things around us, including other people, better than we find them.
Yeah.
I like that. That's the simple reason I do it. I don't feel like I have some crazy higher calling or anything. There might be, I don't know, haven't worked that out, but it's just, I like the feeling of that. I like when I can tell someone something that I've learned or that we've discussed, and they get something out of it which helps them in their life. It's a cool feeling, man. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think absolutely echo that, bro. You know, as well as that, I mean, I think it's for me, these conversations, it's like a real opening of eyes, opening of doors in the mind, in terms of like from a relational perspective, because I think it's this sort of analogy where people use that, you know, when people say that like travel is healing, and talking to people from different cultures is like very informative and eye-opening and stuff like that. It's the same thing. It's just like that. We are from different cultures, but you know, we're both born here and we're both sort of ground here. But it doesn't mean that we're the same, right?
Yeah.
And like, you know, these are the sort of teachings that I've taken from speaking to people around me. You know, my wife, you know, yourself, and you know, just anyone. Like interactions, you'll find that, you know, people think differently. People say different things because of different reasons. Different words mean different things to different people. Yeah. And all that sort of stuff, you know. It's not ever hard and fast based on, you know, what you quote unquote know, what the word is defined as in the dictionary, but it's down to like a level of perception and how you build that perception, and then also understanding that other people view the world quite differently to you, and having at least an acceptance or acknowledgement of that. Yeah. You don't have to accept what they say, you know. It's like, I get it, like one of the most polarizing figures in the world, Donald Trump, you know, he says fucking crazy shit. Yeah. But you know, you have to accept that the guy does that for a reason. It's not like he's like, you know, just a fucking dickhead, black and white, just because you feel that's how it is, you know.
Totally. And one thing you got to respect about the guy, regardless of what your political views are or what he's doing, is like, dude, he's a guy that lives his truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? He says what he believes.
Totally. And it may, you know, it may not fit within this, like, you know, acceptable cultural, you know, realm of what's politically correct and stuff, but that's his truth, man. And you just have to respect that regardless of whether you acknowledge it or not, I suppose.
Yeah, man. Everybody wants to, you know, say what they want to say, be how they want to be, but when someone else does it, it's a problem. Because it doesn't align with what you think.
Totally.
Maybe, you know, that's sort of shit that we talk about, and that, you know, I feel people could really benefit from unpacking for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, it's not so much about who is right, more so than about what is right.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we might wrap it there.
Cool.
But I guess just a bit of context as to how the conversations might flow, you know, going forward. We Shaun and I, we really value, just candid conversation.
Yeah.
Just real talk, We just talk, and we're not scripting shit, We're just saying stuff. It's going to be unfiltered, and we're just going to talk in the moment in terms of how we feel about certain topics.
Yeah.
So to keep that, that vibe and that authenticity there, and to sort of make it a little bit fun as well. Each episode, Shaun or I will take turns in bringing a random topic. We won't prepare. We'll just bring a topic, and without context, we'll just riff on it for however long we, decide to.
That's it.
So yeah, righto. Well, thanks for listening to the first episode. Stay tuned, and we'll hope to see you soon.
Hope to catch you guys soon.
See yous.